last week, Matt Walsh stopped by the University of Wisconsin-Madison to screen and discuss his transphobic film, What is a Woman? To be fair to Matt Walsh, I could imagine him having a very difficult time defining that. But nonetheless, many students turned out to protest the event. And as is the norm with conservatives like Matt Walsh, he made a big to-do about the fact that there were protesters. Listen, you're allowed to speak on public college campuses. And students are also allowed to engage in their speech by protesting your appearance. Now, some students actually turned to a very useful method of protest. So let's take a quick look at that. So for those of you who aren't watching and they're just listening to the podcast version of the show, you can see the protesters, the student protesters. There's also a student protester who appears to be eating pages out of the Bible. And that's at least according to the account that posted the video, Young Americans for Freedom, which means you should probably take it with a grain of salt. But let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and just say that, yeah, that was a student protester eating pages of the Bible. The real reason why I wanted to cover this is because of the outrage that you're seeing from the free speech absolutists on the right. Because if you really do believe that you should protect all forms of speech, including offensive speech, eating a Bible in protest is a form of speech that might be offensive to conservative religious folks, right? And the way they reacted to it online is amazing. So Gail McWilliams says, there will be a day when they answer for this. Sadly, they will remember it for eternity. Satan is the great deceiver and he has so many deceived.
I mean, Satan, he's so good at playing cards. I've not beat him once, honestly, in our weekly card games. I gotta say, conservatives will be upset to find out that when I was a sophomore in high school,
you ate a Bible?
I did not eat a Bible, but I did worse. And this is, I thought about this story the other day and telling it on the show, but I have a tendency to overshare. So I chose not to, but this is the bonus episode. So here we go. When I was a sophomore, junior in high school, I was starting to smoke weed. And my friend said, okay, her family was very Catholic. We had run out of rolling papers. And the Bible has very thin, pages, right? And if you get one of the pages that has less ink on it, you can cut it in half and you can roll it. So I smoked Bible paper, Matt Walsh. What are you gonna do about it?
Ooh, heads are exploding. That is a badass story. And look, I think the most offensive thing you said was that the Bible pages aren't strong enough, that they're weak, thin, flimsy. People
beta
are
pages.
Saying that we need stronger pages in the Bible. They need to be fortified with more thickness.
I know. Get in the gym, take some of the Joe Rogan supplements Bible if you actually want to be strong here. Alpha Force, that's what we need.
The Bible pages need to consider Instahard. Maybe it'll make the pages a little more stiff, less likely for marijuana consumption. I love it. No, the thing about some religious folks, not all, is how insecure they seem to be about their own religious beliefs. Because if I feel confidently about something, someone disagreeing with my beliefs isn't going to lead me to some sort of meltdown. I'm not upset if people don't identify with atheism. My feelings don't get hurt. What I don't like is when people want to force their religious beliefs onto everyone else. You should have your religious faith. You should be able to practice what your religion is. You shouldn't be forcing other people to practice it. And if the Bible is an incredibly important religious doctrine for you, it doesn't mean it is for everyone else. And so I think that's the point that the student, assuming he was eating a Bible, was making there in that protest. Another person on Twitter writes, brave, now try that with the Quran in Dearborn, Michigan. You'll end up 12 inches shorter after they decapitate you. I don't, okay.
Yeah, great. That's a predominantly Muslim community in Michigan, of course. It is hilarious to me that, and not hilarious, it's depressing that they're constantly projecting violence onto the Muslim community, and they have like zero self-awareness about what they inspire here in the United States. The right wing and the evangelical extremists are the United States' Taliban. They're just wearing different colors on their jerseys.
Yeah. I want to go to graphic 4 here because this is my favorite one. One person says, "I'm not a betting man, but I bet most of them don't have a job and live at home with their parents. They're college students." I think you missed the plot here, like the whole story. Like they're college students. They're protesting on their college campus. And I don't know whether that particular student has a job or not, but considering how expensive college is, I hope, and by the way, yes, there was a grammatical error in that tweet. Not to be like a grammar person, but it is what it is. No, but the thing is like, yeah, I mean, if the student is able to go to a college that's near home and he is able to stay with his parents to save money, that's great because college is insanely expensive and students are increasingly digging themselves into a massive hole just to attain higher education. But like, that's not the own you think it is, Terry, yeah. Who probably had a different experience paying for college. So
it's amazing how capitalism has Stockholm syndromed these conservatives because they just like love their captor and they feel like anybody else who is able to kind of benefit in a different way, or that's not even the right word, or who rejects some of like the bootstraps ideology of the conservatives, that they're like deviant in some way. They honestly apply their religious orthodoxy to capitalism more broadly, where you have to be the purest of the pure to be accepted into our group, right? You have to have grinded and made sure that things were really tough on you and go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and that means that you're in the club. And most of us in our age group, and people who have experienced, or their friends or their family have experienced college debt, and who understand that theocracy and religious fundamentalism and conservatism is not the right way to run a country, we reject that, and that makes them uncomfortable. And so then they say we're lazy or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, of course, we're lazy. Let's also just keep in mind that like for the older voters who love to trash young people for not picking themselves up by the bootstraps, when these individuals were coming up in society, there were a lot more opportunities for them thanks to social spending that's been gutted in recent decades. So they didn't have to take out the amount of student loans, or maybe didn't have to take out any student loans at all to go to college. Many public colleges and universities effectively were tuition free for a time in US history, but that was ended. And now if you want to go to a state school, I mean, when I went to a state school, it was so, I mean, my undergrad, I got a scholarship, so I was able to go for free. But I then went on to get my master's from the same state school. And the cost of that education back then, I graduated in 2010, compared to what it is today, is insane. And these are publicly funded state universities. And the whole point is that they're supposed to be affordable for everyone. Comparatively speaking, if you look at like other colleges, if you look at UCs or private universities, they're comparatively more affordable, but they're still super expensive, especially in a country where people haven't seen their wages increase since the 1970s. Like,
yeah,
that's the reality.
You'll hear too, I mean, these same kind of conservatives getting upset when, say, an undergrad decides to take a literature course or some sort of like, I don't know, they're taking poetry and or they're in humanities of some sort. And then Don Jr.'s, on his live stream at 4 a.m, like basket weaving, and they want their student debt canceled. Just understand that where this is coming from is a fundamental like fear that education will liberate the young people en masse for them to so that they understand I don't necessarily need to go into STEM or into finance if it actually doesn't make me happy. I might go into social service. I might continue my education, and if student debt and there's like some sort of debt jubilee and college remains free for people, then they won't feel compelled, or becomes free for people, I should say. They won't feel compelled to going into sectors that serve like the current structure of capitalism in the way that it is formed right now, essentially. That it's a threat when people are not funneled into a system that makes money for other people. And that's what student debt provides. It's a disciplinary tool so that you have to go into industries that pay higher, might make you unhappy, but just to pay off that debt, you're forced to do that. And so they don't want to undermine that system at any cost.
No, definitely not, definitely not. I mean, the reaction to Biden's incredibly modest student loan forgiveness plan is just, it tells you where their priorities are. And it's not to help younger generations. It's not to strengthen the country by providing opportunities for people. Same opportunities they had, by the way. It's all about shutting the door behind them. It's so incredibly gross. I'm gonna end this with one more tweet, and let's go to graphic 6 here. In regard to the student who had allegedly eaten pages from the Bible, that is definitely a hate crime. Hate crime capitalized. So she means business here, Emma.
I mean, who? Just Christians generally? Sorry, that does not apply.
That one student victimized the entire Christian population in the United States by
they are professional victims. They are professional victims. So
thanks for watching the Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.